Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well on this. What is it? Thursday? Fantastic Thursday. Terrific Thursday. Thunderous Thursday. It looks like it's going to thunder. Bloody weather. Gotta love the UK. Get like 4 seasons in a day, yeah? But we haven't had snow for about 5 or 6 years. Forgot what snow looks like. But anyway, we're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes as we've got a lot to talk about today. We've got a lot to talk about. Later on in video 2, we're going to be looking at Megyn Kelly and Nancy Disgrace as they continue in their toxic rhetoric, or rhetoric in the US, I believe it is. You know, is aluminum, aluminium, all of that. You get to learn all sorts of things on this channel. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, as we're still heading towards 100,000 subscribers. I think we've got about 320 to get, and no, 220 to get. And like the video, even if you don't, just do it. Karma, remember, do a nice thing, get a nice thing. Not that we do forgetting. Do something for getting something. That would be disingenuous, wouldn't it? Anyway, you're looking absolutely amazing, I must add. So let's get straight into the meat and potatoes. As in this video, we start to make our way through the documents. Going to be doing a live on Sunday in the new property. Like I say, this might be the last day in here. I don't know. It depends on the internet situation over at the other property. I've now managed to connect the internet here to the neighbour's internet just to get running. Long story, but anyway, let's get on with it, shall we? Let's get on with it. This is what we're looking at: the Hyundai Elantra, as Hitler goes deny, 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 deny. He loves the word deny. I reckon he should have deny tattooed on his chest. You know, like Tupac had Thug Life. He should just have deny written across his belly, like a thug gangster. But anyway, order on defendant's motion in limine reference the make and model of suspect vehicle. Now, what we're going to do is make our way through this and just see whether it's justified what they say. That's obviously not going to be, is it? In the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, surveillance videos from various locations near the crime scene picked up footage of what law enforcement believed to be the same vehicle as suspect vehicle 1. The white sedan that was seen arrive at and then depart from the area of 1122 King Road at the time of the homicides. From one such video, law enforcement determined the vehicle was a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. What they omit here, however, is that as you have such a broad spectrum there, that 2011 to 2016 covers a facelift era where there is a couple of aesthetic changes between the 2011 to 2016. Initially, the FBI agent and the search would be put out for a 2011 to 2014 white Hyundai Elantra. That was the initial sort of questioning. This is what we're looking for, along with the fact that they seemingly was looking for a 2011 to 2014 white Hyundai Elantra that had multiple occupants in it. Certainly that's what they sort of alluded to by James Fry turning around and saying occupants. But look, he might not have meant anything by it. I'm just going by what was reported. It seemed to suggest they were looking for a 2011 to 2014 with multiple occupants. Now, the FBI agent did, early on in the investigation, he would open that up to say that he would feel more comfortable if they did open it to a 2011 to 2016. But it's important to understand that a 2011 and 2016 are different vehicles. There are different aesthetics to them. They're not the same vehicle. So they're in effect here, they're determining the vehicle was potentially this one or potentially that one. They're not saying it's definitely that one. Does that make sense? Anyway. Defendant seeks an order precluding the state from referring to the vehicles depicted on the various surveillance videos as the same vehicle, i.e. suspect vehicle 1. As from asserting that suspect vehicle 1 is a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. He argues that these are speculative conclusions that invade the province of the jury. The state responds that it intends to elicit expert testimony establishing the vehicles are the same, and such testimony will be neither speculative nor otherwise improper. Now, this is where I must interject here and say the issue here is that you're saying suspect vehicle 1 is the suspect's vehicle, Bryan Kohberger's vehicle. So, in order to establish that connection, that this vehicle is Bryan Kohberger's, you would have to 100% be able to point to an aspect of that vehicle that 100% says that that's Bryan Kohberger's, like a picture of him through the fucking window, for instance, or if he'd pranged it, if he'd hit it somewhere and there was a dent that was just on his. They could turn around and say the front number plate situation, say, look, he ain't got a front number plate, that hasn't got a front number plate. But if you do your homework, I believe it was Michael Adagio, he reached out to me recently and said that it's actually more common than not for vehicles in this area to in fact not have a front number plate. And a lot of people in the area do resist it. Let's not forget that this is an area that many of the people who are in here are students from elsewhere. So there is not going to be just one white sedan car without a front number plate. So it is speculative. It isn't 100% proven, as far as I know. They seem to suggest that they're going to be able to say it isn't going to be speculative. So it will be interesting to see what they say in order to... What is going on with the camera? Stop it, camera. I think we're good. So let's carry on. So speculative or nor otherwise improper. Oral argument on the motion was held on April 9th, 2025, after which the court took the matter under advisement. Of course he did. He took the entire fucking hearing under advisement. That means I don't want to tell you to your face that I'm just going to deny everything. I'm going to go away and then do it in writing because he hasn't got the bollocks to say it to your face. Oral argument on the motion was held on April 9, 2025, after which the court took it under advisement. The court finds that the state may present expert opinion that the vehicles depicted in the videos are the same vehicle as suspect vehicle 1. It's funny how they say the court finds that the state may. They might do. Well, they fucking might not do. That the vehicles depicted in the videos are the same vehicle as suspect vehicle 1, as well as the make and model thereof. Standard. The admissibility of expert opinion testimony is discretionary. There you go. Basically, well, I can decide. I'm the boss. I will decide whether it can come in or not. Whether I think that it's right. Like I call Cy Ray, he's a conspiracy theorist, but the FBI agent who's going to say that all this car is the same car and going to be Bryan Kohberger's car, he's definitely. You don't need to approach that with caution. Trust that. Correctly perceive the issues as one of discretion. Act within the boundaries of such discretion. Act consistently with any legal standards applicable to the specific choices before it, and reach its decision by an exercise of reason. Facts. Following the homicides, law enforcement gathers video surveillance from various locations surrounding the crime scene, including from 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of the crime scene. That video footage showed a white sedan. Suspect vehicle 1 enter the King Road neighborhood at 4:04 a.m. and then depart from the area at a high rate of speed at 4:20 a.m. The same footage showed what law enforcement believed to be the same vehicle. So what law enforcement believed to be. Again, it is speculation. They don't know 100% sure. They don't. They can only speculate. And that's the issue here, isn't it? So it says, believed to be the same vehicle, made 3 initial passes by the crime scene in the 30 minutes before its 4:04 a.m. entry. Surveillance videos from 5 other locations within 0.6 miles of the crime scene also captured what law enforcement believed to be suspect vehicle 1 in the hour preceding the crime. Based on the direction of travel and the timestamps from those videos, investigators mapped what they believed to be suspect vehicle 1's route of travel. One of the surveillance videos relied upon by law enforcement was from a camera located at 1125 Ridge Road. Video footage captured at 4:01 a.m. from this camera provided a clear view of a white sedan pictured herein. Now, I would say that it is quite a stretch to say that it's a clear view of a white sedan depicted herein. Because a clear view would mean that you can look at the picture and 100% ascertain from that image exactly what car that vehicle is in there. You could, beyond a reasonable doubt. Yeah, that's definitely, I can't argue that. And I would argue that. From this camera provide a clear view of white sedan depicted therein, which law enforcement believes shared similar class. So not exact class. Again, we're just saying similar class characteristics to a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai. So when you bear in mind what these differences are, the aesthetic differences are, it has to be argued, okay, what are the aesthetic differences between, say, a 2011 Hyundai Elantra and a 2014 at 16, and how do they factor into the positioning of the vehicle in that specific image? How can they be seen? For instance, one of the aesthetic differences, the variables, are the rare number where the rear reflectors are. Now, if that's a head-on image or a side-on image, you can't see what the aesthetic differences are. So they would, in fact, pretty much look identical in that image. So therefore, you're speculating or flat out wrong. While there is no continuous footage, which is the problem, there is no continuous footage, so you're filling in the blanks. And if you go back to the documentation that would talk about the movement of this vehicle, we've got to believe that this vehicle went up a road, it came down a road, it turned round in a road, it was acting in a real strange behaviour. It didn't look like a car with purpose, it looked like a fucking car that was lost. And that's just me being factual. If you follow that document that was supplied recently in the court docs that showed that track, it was behaving oddly. It was behaving like a car that was lost. It was behaving like a DoorDash driver that couldn't find where it was supposed to be delivering. Not behavior of a car that had been watching a property. They knew what they were doing. They left Washington to go to Moscow, Idaho to commit this atrocity, and they knew exactly where they were going. So they just went there. Why would you turn up somewhere and act and drive around everywhere, getting caught on every single fucking ring camera in a mile radius of the property? I just can't work it out, especially when you've got a fucking IQ that puts you in the top fucking 10% on the planet. But there we go. While there was no continuous footage showing the vehicle identified in the Ridge Road footage travelling to the crime scene, the Ridge Road camera was located 0.3 miles down the road from the crime scene. From this collective evidence, investigators believed the vehicle seen on the Ridge Road footage at 4:01 a.m. was suspect vehicle 1 captured on the 1112 King Road footage at 4:04. Based on the lack of continuous footage showing the vehicles captured in the various surveillance videos travelling to the crime scene at 4:04, defendant argues it would be improper for the state to identify those vehicles as suspect vehicle 1 or otherwise identify suspect vehicle 1 as a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. He argues any such testimony is speculative, which I happen to agree with. And I'm not just trying to be argumentative because I'm being argumentative. I'm saying it is speculative. Unless you have continuous footage and you're not trying to connect the dots, there is always a potential, a chance that there was another vehicle there. We know there was other vehicles driving around that night. And from the footage that we've seen or the images that we've seen, you can't tell what vehicle that is in there. And in fact, it shares characteristics with other vehicles other than a Hyundai Elantra. And I'd certainly say that in the images that we've seen, you wouldn't be able to ascertain whether the car was a 2011 or a 2016 because every single angle that we've got are angles that would depict the aesthetic differences between the models. He argues any such testimony is speculative and therefore not relevant, unfairly prejudicial, and invades the province of the jury. The state responds that the testimony is based on logical, educated inferences drawn by law enforcement from the surveillance videos. It adds that the testimony does not invade the province of the jury and is highly relevant to determine whether the vehicle captured at 4:04 a.m. on the 112 King Road was defendant's vehicle. And again, this is the issue here, because you could argue that, okay, you're going to say that this vehicle is a 2014, 2016 Hyundai Elantra. But it's when they get into the realms of saying that suspect vehicle 1 is that guy, that is his car, and we're telling you it's his car. Because again, you're overstepping. You if you try and plant that as fact. And again, this is the cleverness of how stories work in the courtroom. You're trying to tell a story to convince people that this is in fact this person and that's his vehicle. When in reality, they are speculating. It isn't fact unless you flat out got an image of him sitting behind the fucking wheel or undeniable proof. What is the undeniable proof? That's the thing. But if without undeniable proof, there is speculation there. And if there's speculation, it could be argued that it's dangerous to try and push this in a specific way that could lead the jury to believe that this vehicle is in fact the same vehicle throughout all of the imagery. And not only that, but that is then Bryan Kohberger's car. An opinion is speculative when it theorizes about a matter as to which evidence is not sufficient for certain knowledge and suggests only possibilities, which is spot on. That is absolutely right. Here, law enforcement's opinion that the vehicle captured on Ridge Road camera 401 is suspect vehicle 1 captured at 4:04 a.m. on the 1112 King Road footage is not based on unsupported theories or possibilities. Rather, the opinion is based on the investigator's training and experience. It's funny how he takes their training and experience into consideration, but when Cy Ray comes into the courtroom with his training and experience, he is called a conspiracy theorist. So what is it? You only believe that the training and experience of the defense. I don't need to read any more of that. He denies it. He says they can fucking use it. That's where that was heading. But do you know what I mean? This is the thing, isn't it? You get him saying, well, they're even though you've got bits missing in that footage, and they're filling in and some of the gaps and blanks with lights and telling you that the car was doing this and doing that, going up and coming down. It's definitely the same car. And even though they put out a bit bolo for a 2011 to 2013, whatever it was originally, or 14, and then Bryan Kohberger's car happens to just escape that, and then they expand it, and do you know what I mean? But the training experience is enough for him to say, no, well, I'm going to let that in. But again, Cy Ray, working on behalf of the defence, he's got training and experience that is decades in this field, and he is saying, look, this is wrong, and he's a conspiracy theorist. Make that fucking make sense. If that ain't bias, then I don't know what is. Surely, if in an area that you don't know anything about, when someone with training and experience, which is what you're doing here, you should hear them fucking out and take them seriously then. Or is it only if they work on behalf of the prosecution? Love you all. Oh.